over the past few decades as the organic agriculture movement has built up. A huge emphasis was placed on certification per se, and I think that had its role to play because the producers actually themselves wanted to make their products credible for the consumer, and I think they put in a lot of effort. But also in putting a lot of effort, they also put a lot of strain on themselves because what they said, they had to back it up, and so constantly they wanted to define it to the nth level. But then when you are a small producer and with a very small limited market, you could have done it, because you knew consumers trusted you to a certain extent. But then as the scale grew, it became much more complicated. In this whole effort to be perfect, there came a time when people decided and started asking questions. Is this necessary? I'm producing food which is meant to be organic, but I'm producing and I'm putting it out in the local market. People know me, people trust me. And is it then necessary that I go through this whole certification system, which brings this whole system of bureaucracy, it brings a huge cost to me, which in then turn passes it on to I pass it on to the consumer. In many parts of the world, small movements started which took the standards as they were, but the approach to be able to say how this is certified was very different. And they wanted to do it at a local level, at a farmer level. And so that's how the PGS systems grew. But then these were all being done in isolation. And iFOAM, to its credit, realized that here is a huge set of people who fall outside this very defined third-party certification system. And if we want to expand the whole organic world, and we call it an organic movement, and if you exclude people, it doesn't remain a movement anymore. So how do you get these people inside? And so for them, they brought together in 2004. They brought together people from all over the world who were trying out experiments in their own way. And they brought together, and that's where the PGS system, grew out of. This formal name came up of Participatory Guarantee Systems. Interestingly, in 2011, the government itself felt that this was something that needed to be promoted within our own domestic market. And so they held a consultation process, and they have created a system which is now exists through the government channel. And so we have two parallel systems, which I think is very interesting, because this is one of the only countries in the world in which the government itself has initiated a PGS system. There are certain principles, I think, which are very crucial and which run across different systems, cut across different systems. Very crucial is the principle of trust. And if we keep the value chain short, I think this whole trust building exercise is very crucial between the producer and the consumer. Also very crucial is the whole thing of transparency. If you look at the third-party certification, you buy that certificate, you pay for that cost, but in the PGS system, you're not getting into a monetary transaction just to get the certificate. You are able to build on a community. You are able to build and show the consumer right from the farm gate, not even farm gate, from the farm level up to what they are eating. And so that's very crucial. Something else which is very important is the whole aspect of horizontality. That it's not a certifier who comes and decides whether you are organic or not, but it's the farmers themselves who are peer reviewing each other. And when they peer review each other, actually I feel that the farmers are tougher on each other, because they're part of the same village. They know you day in and day out, what you do, what you speak. And so when they review each other, I think it's an amazing thing, because maybe at a certain level it's a review, but at a certain level it also becomes a knowledge sharing, a learning exercise for everybody. a very different way is in the US, where the entire process is done on the internet. Looking at the size of that country and always, their whole thing of time, travel and all that, they built it on the internet. You apply on the internet and the entire documentation gets done on the, it gets published onto the internet. So you can review it as consumers, you can see the whole documentation that is there. And I think that's a very innovative way of doing it. In New Zealand, it's another country where the government itself encouraged, saying that the third-party certification is getting too complicated for our small country. Can we do it something different? And they've formed different ways of doing it. One of the pioneers is Brazil. In India, how it operates is that we do not work with individual farmers. We work with groups of farmers. And so you have to be a minimum of 5 farmers so that there are at least a couple of people to review the third person. And you are not just reviewing each other. Yeah. So that's at one level, and that's the most crucial level because they are the people who make the final decision. There is a form that we have built up and which we do not call the inspection document, but we call an appraisal document, where you appraise each other. And the questions are in a form of yes and no. So it's much easier to tick it off rather than to write an whole explanation which could be interpreted in any manner. Yeah? And so then what we've done is we've translated it. So if you want to do it in Tamil Nadu, you need to have that questionnaire in Tamil. Yeah? If you want to do it in UP, you need to have that questionnaire in Hindi. And so that's very crucial because now it's in 6 or 7 languages. The organizations that want to implement it do the translation. So surprisingly, in Tamil Nadu, we have 2 forms by 2 different groups. How they interpret it in their own context. Soil would be interpreted very differently in my place than in some other place. In Maharashtra, we have the same. The dryland areas have a different form. It's not that the form is very different, but the way you ask the questions, the way you define your context is very different. In our own country, we have very different ways of making this possible. When you can take a pledge, which can be very binding on each other. Yeah. When you document, you don't need to maybe write, but if you have a discussion and you video document it, it's as good as writing down everything. Yeah. So I think even here innovation is constantly required to be able to make it relevant to our people in our country, where literacy is not a high point. In the civil society system that we have created, we have a NGO or a voluntary organization which ensures that this process is carried out. Doesn't do the decision making, but it ensures that the farmers have a meeting, they have reviewed each other, all the questions have been answered, somebody has verified and put their signature. And this form is then sort of condensed, put into an Excel sheet and then sent out to the National Council, which is the another level. So we have 3 levels. We have the local group, we have the facilitation council, and then we have the National Council, which again doesn't do much, but in terms of the certification, because the decision has been taken by the farmer, they only provide the certificate. That also we try and send it over email. The cost is low. You do the printing out and you hand it out to the farmers. But what the National Council does crucially is that it works with other stakeholders. It works with the government, it works with consumers in a platform like BioFact, that it's able to talk to people and tell what the PGS system is all about. Sometimes I like to ask a counter question is, thankfully we have not asked our friends to sign that you are my friend and can I trust you. Yeah, and that's what I said initially, that in our excitement to be perfect, we take it to a limit. Yeah, and I think right now when we want to build short value chains, I think let's build on that trust. Yeah, people are friends, people are parents, yeah, brothers and sisters, and we're not taking certificates from each other. Yeah, and I think let's build, because most relationships are built, human relationships are built, and I think we need to bring that back into organic agriculture.